Well, now here you're actually
Mhm.
demonstrating another part of the practice of revolutionary love, and that is to listen deeply, and from that space of grace to become aware of what is the wound, or become curious about what is the wound, what is the trauma behind whatever that is, that intensity is. And then, rather than to reject or get angry or critical about that, tend the wound.
Yeah.
And when we can do that for ourselves, for and with others, and for and with our opponents as well, that is an act of revolutionary love. And creating pockets of that, that's what we're talking about. That is United is the Way in action.
So, United Way has a new tagline. United is the way.
Yeah.
That could be interpreted in a million different ways.
Yes.
Can you share with us how you interpret that tagline and how it fits in the larger context of what United Way of the Wine Country is up to?
Yes. Well, I'll just say that United Way of the Wine Country is a part of the United Way worldwide global movement. And there are over 1,200 United Ways around the world, including 36 countries. And we are globally in the middle of a brand refresh with a new logo. The hand has been unboxed. So
It's a wild free hand.
So yeah, so that's exciting, and we have this new tagline: "United is the Way." And its origins, its meaning are a recognition of our creative capacity to affect change when we are acting as a collective.
Wow.
Yeah. So United is the Way. I mean, honestly, because I'm a fan of The Mandalorian, when I read this, I thought, oh, somebody's been watching The Mandalorian. This is the way, is what it means to be from Mandalore and to be a Mandalorian. This is the way. Well, United is the way to act intentionally from that space of our shared universal values: dignity, compassion, fairness, integrity, justice for all. And as a global movement, is how we live as fully as we possibly can into the mission of United Way, mobilizing the caring power of the community to affect change and ensure that everyone has a beautiful and joyful and thriving life. So United is the Way is like a new or maybe a fully embracing of the original idea of United Way in the first place.
So when you describe this, the feelings in my body are openness and engagement and excitement, and it's beautiful and just this visionary hopefulness.
Yeah.
And when we juxtapose that against alongside stuff that's going down in the world right now, like there's a lot of fear and anger and hopelessness. So how do we meet this moment from this space of United is the Way?
Well, I'm going to just invite people to consider a couple of things. One is that having conversations like this,
Mm-hmm.
and having more conversations like this, um, genuinely creates these opportunities to nurture our relationship, our sense of trust building,
Mm-hmm.
our understanding, our awareness of who we each are, who we are ourselves.
Mm.
And especially if we start with looking at the person on the other side of the conversation and recognizing you are a part of me I do not yet know,
Mm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
which again, I reference See No Stranger and Sage Warrior, the writings of Valerie Kaur, who's
Mm-hmm.
really talking about this a lot in her work and in the Revolutionary Love Project, which she leads.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we are able to see ourselves in other person in another person, we're creating pockets of revolutionary love. And what's going to happen after this conversation is you and I are going to go on to our next meeting or our next activity, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think feeling, open, hopeful, joyful, from the connection,
Mm-hmm.
and the conversation, and we'll carry that into the next conversation that we each have.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we do that, the more we are creating these pockets of revolutionary love.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the way to meet this, distressing moment of revelation and transition that we're in the world right now, what's being revealed to us is how uh, systems and cycles and institutions that are extractive and oppressive and repressive and grounded, rooted in fear, um, and 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 hate,
Mm-hmm.
um, are uh, are antiquated, destructive,
Mm-hmm.
mutually destructive, um, and from my perspective, destined for the past. As more and more of us appreciate that we want more of this,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 recognize that the value of this is that more and more people get to share in the prosperity and the community and the opportunities that we share. That's what I'm hopeful of,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when we're doing it in even bigger communities, as bigger collectives, as corps of volunteers or as teams in a workplace, um, or as neighbors in a community, or as an extended family, or as a family of choice, um, or uh, what we're seeing in our communities around the country this week, strangers showing up for one another
Mm-hmm.
because we all believe in the dignity and and the compassion and and values of fairness that really unite us all.
Mm-hmm. So my brain says I got this to-do list
Uh-huh.
that isn't only on this page, it is also on this page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's
That's
really
why I struggle with to-do lists.
right,
Right there.
yeah, an embodiment of that. I have that. And so on the one hand, yes, this brings joy and connection and moves us towards community. And on the other hand, this is barking at my door. This is like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting here talking? You've got stuff to do. Go do it. And right, and
Yeah.
here, this is part of the moment, right? If I
Yeah.
don't do that, then I'm not fighting the thing.
Well,
Or if I don't make the money that I need to be able to pay my mortgage, then I'm not fighting the thing. So there's a lot of yeah buts that come up with a an already um, willing audience here.
Right, yeah, right.
um, so what's the remedy there? How do we make space and time for the slowness of this relationship building that you're talking about and still churn through the other stuff that needs to happen? Like, how do we balance that? Fix it, Lisa.
Well, I don't know that I can fix it. And I struggle, as I said, I struggle with to-do lists myself. I've got a long list of things to do and a long list of shoulds.
Yeah.
So when I'm starting to feel both overloaded and overwhelmed, here are some of the things that I've begun to do, which may or not be helpful for you. But here are some of the things that I've begun to do to take care of myself. Um, and um, and one of them um, is is to pause, actually, to breathe and reflect, and through that intention of creating space to recognize that I need to take care of myself before I can do anything on that to-do list. Because I won't do anything on that to-do list well if I am not centered, not grounded, not well resourced, not rested. All of those things are really essential to my being able to look at that to-do list, prioritize what's needed, focus, and take on what I must do. I really appreciated some advice that I was given last year by our mutual friend Charlie Toledo, who's the executive director for the Susquehanna Intertribal Council. Literally one day I was just having a meltdown while I was finishing up something with Charlie, and it was because I had this long list of things to do and I felt overwhelmed. And she said, just breathe and think about the one or two things that you can do and do them exquisitely. Focus and do those one or two things, and then ask yourself, what is the next right thing to do? And then do that exquisitely. And I, as a like an intention and as a practice over the past 12, 13 months, that has really helped to relieve my sense of overwhelm and feel like I have more agency, more of a plan for how to get things done. And with that plan, I have more hope to get things done. So that's like one approach. The other thing that I'm also reminding myself of is that incessant drive to keep doing and doing and doing and doing and doing is a way, and this actually comes from reading the book Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima, which is my current obsession. That is a way that I am telling myself I'm not enough.
Say it again.
So
please,
when I'm looking at my to-do list and I'm accomplishing things, I'm following Charlie's advice and I'm doing one or two things exquisitely, moving on to the next thing. I'm taking care of myself, and I'm still berating myself because I still have a long list of things to do, and I'm not celebrating my wins and ignoring what I'm achieving or accomplishing because I'm just focused on how I'm still not done. And this is something that we have been conditioned and really acculturated to do, I think, especially as women, that we're never enough. And no matter what I do, I'm I'm never enough and it's never going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my core fear anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so I have to have really strong conversations with myself,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 tell myself, you are not your job. You are not what you do. You are Lisa,
Mm.
who stands for courage, kindness, compassion, and inclusive belonging. And you're not what you do.
Mm. Mm.
You are enough as you are. And to the extent that you keep, you know, dismissing, invisibilizing, being indifferent to what you actually are accomplishing,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's your own internalized oppression.
Mm.
You can you can turn the volume down on that. You have permission to let that
Mm-hmm.
go.
So another layer here then of united is the way has to do with uniting with our own sovereignty,
Right.
uniting with our own higher selves, our own inner wisdom, our own sense of um, enoughness
Yep.
to meet the moment. Even when the email keeps dinging, there's another
Yeah.
one,
There's
there's
another
another
one. Yeah.
one.
Yeah. 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 Actually,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I really appreciate about how um, Valerie Kaur frames this idea of you are a part of me I have not yet met.
Mm-hmm.
That applies when we awaken to our oneness,
Mm-hmm.
when we recognize that we are one with everything
Mm.
we experience and see around us. The stardust, the sun, the moon, the river, the trees, the ant,
Mm.
uh, the puppy, Babaru, the rooster in Jamaica, other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we also can and should apply that to the feelings that we experience inside ourselves that are uncomfortable, that are new.
Mm-hmm.
And so that criticism, uh, whoever that little critic in me, um, or that grief in me
Mm-hmm.
that I have never like turned around to really face and ask myself, who are you?
Mm.
How long have you been a part of my life?
Mm.
Um, where, when did you start? Where did you come from? You are a part of me I have not yet met.
Mm.
So that criticism, I haven't done enough,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that paying attention, having a conversation with the critic is a
Mm-hmm.
place to start.
Mm.
And I have had those conversations. It turns out my critic is is really just uh, comes from this fear,
Mm.
is driven by this fear that I need to keep doing and doing and doing and doing and doing to prove myself.
Mm.
And uh, I'm gently trying to talk that critic into trusting
Mm.
the wise woman inside of me,
Mm.
who is saying it's time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to focus on just this one or two things,
Mm.
and and trust that I will be provided for. We
Mm-hmm.
will be provided for. The
Yeah.
resources will come when we need them.
You're reminding me that in my own work with that critic, the name I gave that part of myself is the whip cracker.
Oh
That
wow.
is just
Okay.
constantly behind me going, go, 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 go,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
What I learned about that whip cracker part of me is that it was a mechanism that I created to protect myself.
Yeah. Yes.
It was a way that it was a coping skill that I needed at some point in my life
Yeah.
to help me get through something,
Yeah.
and that as time went on it's become an outdated tool,
Yes.
and it's still trying to help me, It's still trying to protect me. It's not a malevolent part of me.
Right.
It's just outdated now.
Right. Yeah.
and needs to be, as you were saying, you can step aside. It's okay. I got this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be protected in that way right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So to be loving, to be compassionate, to be kind to that part of yourself is essential.
And essential, yes. And again, so here between this sort of internal dialogue and external dialogue, there's a piece of it too that applies then to other people around me.
Yeah.
Probably not malevolent.
Yeah.
Probably trying to protect themselves in some way.
Right.
Probably have a story I don't know anything about. And so they said something and it landed kind of funky with me. And do I hold them to that for the next 20 years? Probably not.
Right. Right. Well, now here you're actually demonstrating another part of the practice of revolutionary love. And that is to listen deeply. And from that space of grace, to become aware of what is the wound, or become curious about what is the wound, what is the trauma behind whatever that is, that intensity is. And then, rather than to reject or get angry or critical about that, tend the wound.
Yeah.
And when we can do that for ourselves, for and with others, and for and with our opponents as well, that is an act of revolutionary love. And creating pockets of that, that's what we're talking about. That is united is the way in action. Yeah.